Shannon Sharpe's days at FS1's Undisputed alongside Skip Bayless are nearing its end. Sharpe agreed to a contract buyout with the parent company Fox Sports. He will be leaving Undisputed at the conclusion of the NBA Finals. A lot of fans have speculated online just why would Shannon Sharpe leave what he's got, which seems to be a great thing at the climax of his career in broadcast. And maybe Shannon is clearing up some of that speculation. He's been liking some interesting tweets online from fans that have speculated. One person said their relationship got progressively worse over the last 2-3 years because Skip fought for him to be on that show, but I feel like Skip couldn't stand Shannon succeeding, and that's when Skip started taking pot shots on the air. Another fan said, FS1 keeping Skip and losing Jenny and Shannon is like a music promoter keeping Weird Al Yankovic but getting rid of Lady Gaga and James Brown. Shannon liked both of those tweets online, which presumably he's agreeing with what the fans are speculating. It's an interesting way for Shannon to go about it. Y'all know on this platform, from my vantage point, what I told you guys outside looking in, I felt like Shannon allowed social media to get the best of him. He's a human. You got to think when Shannon was playing football, social media wasn't around. And now Shannon's job has been oftentimes to be critical of athletes day in, day out. And that could get taxing when you were one of the athletes. I don't believe it bothers Skip one bit because he loves sports, but he loves it from a different angle. He's never been on that field, on that court. So it's tough for Skip or a guy like Self to relate to people who have played it. And I think you saw a lot of that culminate with the Damar Hamlin situation on that very tragic Monday Night Football game between the Bills and the Bengals. Again, somebody like Stephen A. Smith, who Skip worked with previously, to me, he's a reporter. So he obviously is used to criticism. He's used to social media. I worked with Stephen A. He doesn't get on social media as much as you would think. He has a team that helps him out. I know for a fact Shannon Sharpe still goes in and is on his social media accounts, staying in tune, tweeting. You know, with that comes a lot of criticism. And I'm assuming that to have gotten the best of Shannon. I'm sure there were other things. I saw Marcellus Wiley, former FS1 employee. I thought he brought up a great point on his YouTube channel. We talked about this in the past, but I didn't bring it up yesterday. One of the things that might be heard in Shannon Sharpe and Skip's relationship behind the scenes, this is just pure speculation from me and Marcellus. You got to think, when Shannon got to Undisputed, he was handpicked by Skip and one of the former producers there, Jamie. Skip, at the time, was clearly the bigger star leaving ESPN. Over time, though, I mean, Shannon Sharpe's star has risen. And if you look at a lot of those social numbers where Skip doesn't capitalize from a branding standpoint, Shannon has been cleaning house. And you look at the success of Shannon's podcast, Club Shay Shay, that would also be leaving FS1 once he's done at FS1. You look at that success, man. Maybe Shannon's shooting that from out of his home. I'm not 100% sure. But you're talking about a dude that's able to get guests when they're not on their media runs. And trust me, I'm a guy that has done a lot of interviews in my life, and I don't have a team. So it's very difficult to book interviews. Trust me, I've seen for myself, and I've been a person to interview people like Kevin Hart, right? And Rick Ross. It is not easy setting up interviews with these people. Trust and believe. I can't just make a call and get Kevin Hart on my show tomorrow, right? You're talking about Shannon Sharpe. This man just had Steve Harvey on his show a couple weeks ago. Steve's not promoting anything, and that's power in that. Take it from me. Again, I'm somebody still trying to find my way in the business. There's power in this man having a brand big enough to be able to call and get Steve Harvey not promoting anything. And by the way, Steve is very selective about the media that he does because he doesn't really need it. You got a guy that's able to get Steve Harvey to come pull up on you in studio. Steve's a very busy man. That's a big deal. And Shannon gets a few of those guests on his podcast per year. And that's just, again, I'm just explaining to you, you couple that up with the fact that Shannon's become everybody's favorite uncle. You know, he's had the meme moments with the blunt in his mouth or the black and mild in his mouth. He had he's got the alcohol in his hand as well. The LeBron love that he's shown. His brand has risen. And if behind the scenes Skip is still calling the shots from what we're going to talk about, which I do believe, by the way, if you look at a lot of the topics, they're repetitive, they're Dallas Cowboys centric. I believe Skip's probably calling the shots. He's an older male that's had power for a long time. I believe he's calling the shots about what they talk about day in, day out on that program. And it could get repetitive. It could get obnoxious when you're the one seeing your star grow and you're like, yo, this ain't the same dichotomy when I first got here. My star's risen. I can argue that your star has come down a little bit with the success of the LeBron James led Lakers and LeBron, winning that championship in Cleveland. And also with the Dallas Cowboys not being good. You can start to argue that Skip's brand has come down because some of the things that he's been associated with, they've succeeded or failed. The teams and players that he's associated himself with, while Shannon's star has risen because some of the teams and players that he's associated with, a la LeBron and Patrick Mahomes, have succeeded. I'm just telling y'all what it is. I think that's a piece of it. I don't know if Shannon Sharpe's ready for everything that comes with being on social media day and like still having this phony hand, like still trying to do your tweets and stuff. I think that may be overwhelmed Shannon. A lot of people talk about how they think Skip disrespects Shannon on air. I will give you the few moments that, when Skip told Shannon to put his glasses on, I thought that was way out of bounds. The DeMar Hamlin stuff was uncomfortable when Shannon was trying to talk and Skip cut him off. There's been a couple other instances. I never like when Skip Bayless starts talking about Shannon the player, because I don't like that because he played. You'll never hear me. Whenever I'm critical of athletes, I try to draw this line of but at the end of the day, he played, she played, right? As much as I love this game or whatever sport I'm covering, as much as I love it, can be critical of it, there's levels to this. And at the end of the day, I think it's my job to ask questions, to pull more out of athletes when I feel like they're giving me friendly answers versus trying to out-talk an athlete and try to tell them more about a game, sport that they played, right? I think if I'm having a conversation with, I just saw something I didn't like on the other day. Robert Horry said, he played with Akeem, Tim, and Shaq. He was on all the Smoke podcast. If I were doing a podcast with Robert Horry, we're just talking basketball, I didn't like how Stephen A. and Matt Barnes allowed Robert Horry just to say Hakeem was a better player than Shaq and Tim Duncan. That was ridiculous to me. It actually pissed me off. In that moment, it's not my responsibility not playing the sport, and Robert Horry did play with those three gentlemen, to out-talk him about it, but I feel like it would have been a fair thing for me to push back at Robert and say, but wait a minute, are you sure you really think, you see what I'm saying? There's a difference. When you're on air with somebody like Skip is with Shannon every day, I don't think it's proper etiquette to try to talk about him only winning 3 championships. Like, you don't have any. So I think those things definitely added to maybe that. I'll never agree with people saying that Skip overtalks Shannon. Oh, that's ridiculous. I've never agreed with that, and I think y'all dead wrong. I watch debate television with a different set of lens. I've never in my life thought Skip out-talks Shannon. As a matter of fact, I think the opposite. I think Shannon over-talks Skip, but I think it's probably because behind the scenes, I think maybe Skip is flexing his muscles from a production standpoint about what we're going to talk about, what we're going to do. And I think that Shannon getting a little get back on air. Again, I'm not 1,000% surprised it's coming to an end. I think the timing is very interesting. I think Shannon not completing his contract is very telling. The fact that he did a buyout means I got to get out of here now. I don't care what's going on next football season. I don't care how good the Dallas Cowboys are going to be or how bad they're going to be. I don't even care to rub it in Skip's face for 6 months of the season. Get me out of here now. I don't want to do this again. I want to do something else. And I'm sure Shannon's going to land on his feet. I'm very curious to see where he goes next. A tremendous talent with a lot of charisma and personality. Somebody's going to get a big-time entity. When you include that podcast, Club Shay Shay, as well, I'm excited to see where he lands. He's kind of starting to pull the cover back about him and Skip. Got to go to work with the brother the next day, but he's still definitely letting us know, things wasn't 100 as he liked some tweets online. that maybe suggests Skip was jealous of Shannon. I'm out.